Hi friends, welcome to Webcamp. In this video, I will talk about the data types in Python. So obviously we use programming to turn the data, to transform the data, to work with the data. And it is very important term in any of the programming language that you should know the data types, how the data types works, what are all different types of data uh, that specific programming language is going to support. If you know the data type, then and then only you will be able to select the appropriate operation about that data. Okay, so Python has numeric data type called integer and float. Okay, so int stands for int, float stands for decimal number. Int stands for integer, meaning the number without decimal, and if you have a decimals, so that will be a float type data. Okay, then boolean type data, if you have a data which is in the true and false, mostly we have this kind of data in the we use this kind of data in conditional expressions to control the flow of Python code execution. Then text type data is represented as an str in case of Python. That is what the data type. If you have a data in the sequence, that kind of data will be treated as a list, or it can be presented with the help of tuple. So there are two types that is used to store the multiple values. So we will see one by one how this works. Then set type, again this is what the data type. Then mapping type, okay, you if you have key and value pair type of data, that will be considered as a dict. Let's say there is none, the way we can have a null in SQL. Here in case of Python, we don't have anything called null. None is there. Okay, it is very similar to the null. There is no value. When there is no value, so it will be considered as a none. Okay, then data type data. Okay, obviously Python don't have any data type that directly support the data type, but yes, so there is a library called a datetime library. You can use that to work with the date time. And there is something called custom. So that is different concepts. Okay, when you will learn object oriented programming, then you will be able to create your own data types by creating the classes. So the what comes here, classes in a picture when we go to the object oriented programming. So all these types are nothing but class in Python. Okay, let's understand now how to work. Okay, so obviously we have seen that, even I discussed, whenever you have to store the data, you have to work with the data. Obviously, first, whenever we start with the programming, we need to store the data somewhere, but where? So variables comes in a picture. So variables are used to store the data, right? And variable name could be anything. Okay, if I say x is equal to 10, so we can say that x is a variable that holds the value called 10, right? And 10 is a data, numerical type data. But now how to check the type of data? It's very simple. Okay, there is a function called a type, and you have to pass the variable name to that function. Okay, so it will shows you, or it will return you data type of that variable, meaning what type of data that variable is holding, you will get. But to see the output, we know what we need to do. We need to print this. If you do not print, you will not be able to see the output. Okay, so now it's time to run the file. Okay, so let me select the interpreter, and this is what the interpreter, I changed my interpreter. That's fine. So it says class int. Okay, so there is a class in Python which is called int, which is represented, which represent the data of integer type. Okay, so that's how it works. So you need not to worry about class and all. Just remember this is what the integer type of data. If you have a data, okay, I'm going to reassign the value to this x in 10 points, something like this. Okay, in the decimals. In this case, you will be able to say that this is a float type data. Even though if I run this code, you will see now it is showing class float. Okay, this is how we can check the data types of any variable in Python. Now, we have these two types for the numerical data. Let's say you have a data which is in the text format. So how text format is going to work? So let's say if you have a name of any objects. So even though if I put my name in here, okay, so it's my name. And if you want to present any data in the text format, in case of Python, what you need to do, you need to either use single quote or double quote, whatever will be good for you, you can use. Both the quotations, type of quotations are used to represent the text or string in Python. So text type data is represented as a string. So here now you will be able to see that it returns me text type data, any kind of, okay, even the numbers could be there. Okay, even though if I change this to 1,000, but if my data is surrounded by the single quote or double quote, that will be considered as an string. So even though I run this program, you can see that Python says this is a text type data, right? So Python is able to identify what type of data you have assigned to that variable. Okay, then we have next type of data called Boolean data. Okay, so I'm going to modify the things here only. If I say str, same variable I will use. On next line, if I say x is equal to true, okay, so this is a Boolean type data. If you write true, Python will treat it as a true, and it says the class is bool. Okay, so this is how it defined. Even though if you use the false, that is also fine. And if I run again, it says it is of class bool, right? Even this kind of data can be returned by simply specifying, okay, the conditions. If I say 100 is greater than 90, right, even it will return the Boolean type data. So obviously whenever we use the conditional operators, that returns the value either in true or false. That's it. Okay, so we can have the Boolean type data also. Then let's say we have to see something called list. Okay, so here we are using variables to store single value, right? Even if I check, okay, but if you want to store the multiple values, how to store? So Python has something called a list, that is a collection type object. You can store the multiple values in a single variable with the help of list, tuple, set, and dictionary. Okay, so that is a part that is different, but yes, still these are the data types considered as an, obviously that is part of Python data structures. Okay, but that is fine. Okay, we need not to go for the data structure and all. If you understand this much, this is sufficient. Okay, we use list to store the multiple values. Okay, so you can store multiple values in square brackets separated by comma. That is nothing but list in Python. Okay, so this type of data, if I run this now, you can see that it is returning me the data type of this is list, right? Same thing is there. Okay, if you use normal round bracket, so again it will be able to handle, or it will be able to store the data, but this time data type will be different. It says tuple. Okay, so there are two concepts whenever you have to store the multiple values, but it has different properties. That's why these two are different. We will see that in Python collection. Okay, that is fine. Now we have something called set and frozen set. Okay, so that is again data type. Okay, set is nothing but the same kind of collection, same like list, but which is represented as sorry, which is represented in curly brackets. Okay, and now if I run, it says data type of this is set. Okay, so properties we will discuss. So far just you have to understand this. If we write like this, that will be another data type for Python treat each of the list, it will treat differently. Tuple it will treat differently. Set it will treat differently. Okay, and if you use the key and value pair inside the curly bracket, that will treat again differently. Okay, so that is what the collection type framework. See here, I will say set. We have seen something called list and tuple. So if the data set or your all the values are sitting in square bracket, that is represented as a list. If it is in round bracket, that is represented as an, or that is a type of tuple. Tuple in Python. Okay. So this is how Python deals with the various types of data. Now there is something called dict. Okay, so when you have a data which is in key and value pair, let's say key is my name, so name is the key and value is, let's say, webchamp. So this is what the value. So now we have a data in key and value pair. Okay, so similarly we can have, okay, this is what the name, and another key is technologies. Okay, so here I can have the list of values in case of technologies, whatever I cover. Okay, so I'm just trying to create this kind of uh, list, and I will say, okay, this is fine. Okay, so this is what the actually dict object. One is key, and with respect to that key, you can have one value, that is what the key value pair. Even it's not like that we can have only one value, you can have the list of values against each key. Okay, that is what the part. Okay, but these are the data structures. Mainly we refer these as a collection type datas in Python. Okay, but yes, you need to understand this also. These are the types of data, and if you do not understand this, okay, the problem is what, you will not be able to perform the appropriate operations on the data. You will not be able to select what to do, how to do that kind of things. You need to learn with the help of data, and obviously for that purpose it is very much important to know the data type first. Okay, so we have seen how dictionary is created. Then none type data, if your any variable is not going to hold the data, you cannot leave it blank. Okay, so either you cannot create or you can simply say none. And now if I run this, so you will be able to see that none type. Okay, even I did not shown for the dict. So if I run this by removing the next text, so you can see that this is, or this type of structure, this type of values of any variable will be categorized as an dict, right? So anybody you can use class, classification, data types as per your comfort. Okay, if I say x is equal to none, so this will be of none type data. None meaning no value. It is neither zero, neither blank we can consider. Okay, no, with no values, meaning like this. Okay, then date and type date and time type data. So we cannot directly use date and time, meaning you cannot store. If you store anything here, let's say if I store 2023 hyphen 09 hyphen what is today's date, so it's 18, and if I try to run this, Python will treat this data as a text. But if you want to do something in the date format, so what you need to do is you need to use date time, but you cannot use directly date time. Date time I'm using here, and here I can pass this date. Okay, so till there is a requirement, date time is not defined. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to import the date time, but not sure whether this is installed on my system also. If I try to import date time, you will able to see import. Okay, date time is there. Okay, fine. So if you import this, if you write like this, then and then only you will be able to work with date time data. And now if you see the type of X is, okay, it says str object cannot be interpreted as an date time. Okay, fine. So there are functions even that is treated as an date time. What we need to do is we need to use something like date, and here you can pass the year, you can pass the month, okay, month number, and you don't need to put 0 before that, okay, in case of Python, and let's say 18. Okay, so this is what my today date. So now it will treat, okay, now it will treat date time dot date. Okay, this is what the class actually. So this is coming from the external file. This is not a part of Python, direct Python. Okay, but yes, this is what the library, they someone who has written the code to handle the dates in Python. Okay, this is how we import the Python packages. But it is important to know that there is a data type called a date in Python. That's why I did. But yes, you will, by the time you will understood in this series how to import the package, what is mean by module, what is mean by package, everything will be discussed. So be stick to the webcam. Do not forget to subscribe webcam for the updates or updated videos. With this, I would like to conclude the data types in Python. Okay, so I hope you like the content of this video. Thank you for watching the video.